Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I welcome you to another wonderful, exciting, invigorating episode on Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We're going to talk real estate and real estate investing with the MD of Tlou Real Estate, Mr. Dudley Molapisi. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mogobe. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, as is customary, I'm going to ask you to give your background and to tell us what you're all about.
All right, Dudley Molapisi is just a regular guy from Maung. I'm a pilot by profession. And then I switched to real estate later on in my life. Yeah, that's it.
When did you finish your piloting and what sort of aeroplanes were you flying?
I started my flight school in 2012. And I started work in 2016, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was there for about 3 years.
Okay, where?
In Maung, I was flying the little planes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
fun times. I was doing bush flying.
Okay. And is it a diploma or a degree? What do pilots get?
Licenses.
Okay.
Yeah, we get licenses. I was licensed as a commercial pilot.
Mm-hmm. You can't fly a jumbo or some of these Air Botswana planes.
I can. With a commercial license, you can fly commercially.
Okay.
It's just a matter of getting a rating on any aircraft you want to fly after that.
Okay. So you do still fly from time to time?
Unfortunately, Corona ended my relationship with flying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Corona grounded a lot of us. And I was
So
one
maybe
of
it's
them.
not unfortunate because it shifted you into real estate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a human being, you have to be always evolving, and yeah, that's what happened with me.
Okay. The company you set up is called Tlou. Why elephant and Tlou, which means elephant?
Yeah.
Why elephant and what exactly does Tlou Real Estate do?
Why elephant? If you're asking why the name Tlou Real Estate, Tlou is a sacred animal to me. Coming from Maung, where there's a lot of elephants, it means a lot to me. Yeah. Hence the name Tlou Real Estate. We're a real estate brokerage.
Why you say it's sacred?
It's with my tribe. We believe, not just my tribe, my family. We believe
Tawana.
there's Tawanas and also my family. We believe there's some higher powers with elephants.
In the trunk or in the tusks?
The whole animal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the whole animal. It's like I think Bangwatu believe in the puti, and I believe in Tlou.
Tell us about how you started Tlou Real Estate and what it does.
So real estate is a real estate brokerage. We're a service provider, solutions provider, honestly, because we realize that there's a lot of problems that need to be attended to in the real estate industry of Botswana. Real estate is a very tedious process, and we just want to bridge that gap, have everything under one roof. We're selling convenience to the Botswana, efficiency. Anyone who wants to go into real estate investment, they can come to us and we'll help them out. Instead of having to go around all the many departments, just come to Tlou Real Estate and we'll go around for you.
I noticed that you didn't use the word agency, you used the word brokerage. What
Yes.
is the difference?
There's no difference per se, because as an agency around here, an agency means selling and letting. There's a department that does that within Tlou Real Estate. We do have an agency, we have qualified agents, but that's not all we do. We deal with investment also, consultations, property management, mortgage assistance. So I don't want to term it as an agency.
You call it a one-stop shop for real estate needs.
Yeah.
What was the trigger? What did you notice in the market that caused you to want to start your own agency?
I think
Stroke brokerage.
Yeah, I think my mistakes early on when I was investing. I went into real estate. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any guidance, and Lord, there was no one out there to just guide me, assist me. So, and I realized that a lot of us have that same problem. That Tlou real estate was started for first-time home buyers. We get into that market. We don't know what's happening, and there's no one to assist us. If I tell you a story of how I got my first real estate deal, I went into the bank to find a mortgage, and the lady tells me, but Dudley, you can qualify for a personal loan. It's going to be approved in 48 hours. Why do you want a mortgage? Just take the personal loan, and I did. And later on, I realized that was a very bad move. And that's how the market is. There's no one looking after you out there.
Why
You're
is
on
that a
your
bad
own.
move? Maybe you need to educate the audience.
First of all, the interest on a personal loan is high. It was a rental property, and because I took it as a personal loan, I had to pay a large amount of installments every month. Now it takes on to my cash flow. Now I'm having a smaller cash flow because of the high interest I'm paying on the loan. The 5 years as compared to if I'd taken it on a 25-year mortgage, I would have cash flowed better.
Yeah, let's talk about the lengths of this mortgage. As you might know, I'm a real estate investor. We average 10. In fact, our longest mortgages are 10. I noticed that people are quite happy to go for 25 years, and you spoke of a personal loan of being 5 years. Talk to the viewer about the importance of these lengths. Why 25 years? What's the advantage there? Why would someone like me settle for 10 years? Would you know why people normally do that? Talk about the lengths that people choose for these loans.
The financing part is where you get it either right or wrong, Mr. Mogobe. And I don't know why you'd opt for 10 years as compared to the longest term. Maybe 10 years is the longest term your lender gives you. But if your aim is to cash flow, you want to pay the smallest amount of installments every month. And the 10-year won't give you that as compared to a 25-year mortgage. On a 25-year mortgage, for example, if I'm paying 2.5 per month for 25 years, for 10 years I would have been paying maybe something like 5,000. So I'm not cash flowing as much as I'd be cash flowing on a 25-year mortgage. That's why for me I believe in the longest term minimum installments. It works for me and my goals as an investor.
Tell the viewer why cash flow is important.
The cash flow is king, Mr. Mogobe, because if your goal is to go into real estate because you want a second stream of income, then that monthly cash flow will set you for life. It's a lifetime supply of money every single month. And that's why it's better than, for me, it's better than appreciation. I go for cash flow, whereas other investors go for appreciation.
Can't you have both?
You can, but I've noticed if you go into a property looking for both, you usually sacrifice one or the other. It's either you get a higher appreciation and a lower cash flow, or a higher cash flow and lower appreciation.
All right.
And for me, I would choose the one with a higher cash flow and lower appreciation.
Okay. Tell us about your first investment. What did you invest into? And now what are you investing in currently?
My first investment, that I went into real estate when I got my first job, and everyone's telling me that Liano, you need to buy property. Some are telling me property, you can never go wrong. Those are the only two things I knew about real estate investment. You can never go wrong. You need to invest in property.
I hope you're not shocked when I tell you you can go spectacularly wrong.
I know, Mr. Mogobe,
Oh,
that it can go wrong. Yeah, I've went wrong.
Yes.
I've went wrong. I know now that's utter rubbish. My first property was a bachelor pad. I built it myself. It was fun. I got to learn a lot. I was the project manager. Everything was there. It was fun.
And how did you make money out of it?
I rented it out for some time and eventually flipped it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's when I learned the power of flipping as power of cash flow. But now I think I'm more into multi-residentials. It's what I love now. I don't think I'd be interested in buying a single family anymore.
So how does your portfolio look like?
I have 2 multi-residentials right now because also I think I explained to you that sometime last year when Corona came and things happened, I had to liquidate here, Tibadikoloto there. Yeah.
All
So
right.
even now, even with the 2 that I currently hold, I'm trying to let go of them.
Okay. The obvious question to somebody who's coming to this for the first time is why real estate? Why not, trading, day trading? Why not stocks? Why not starting a business, maybe a restaurant? Why did you focus on real estate?
The simple answer would be, Mr. Mogobe, the fact that with real estate, you get a loan from the bank and have someone else pay off that loan for you while you benefit from the cash flow and the appreciation over time just gives it an upper hand over other investments out there. It's really that simple. And the leverage factor, there's no products out there that the bank can lend you money to go and invest in. You can't borrow money to go to the stock market.
Yeah.
You can't borrow money to go buy mutual funds or any of that. But with real estate, with my 50,000, I can own a property worth 2 million.
And of course, there's something tangible.
And there's
brick and
something
mortar.
tangible, exactly. And you get to control your investment. You can manipulate it, increase its value here and there. And also, I think the most important one that I think as property investors we're all going to see now is everything is going up. Prices are going up. Electricity tariffs, petrol. The value of my property is going up too. My rents are going up too. So as most businesses are in trouble out there because everything's just going up, my rent is going up too.
Okay. Now let's talk about wealth building. In real estate, how do you propose, how do you advise your clients, your customers to build wealth? How do you lay those initial bricks, as it were, foundation and the bricks towards wealth building through real estate?
First of all, our clients have to identify their goals. And once we identify their goals, we can come up with a strategy they can use. You can build wealth through cash flow. You can build wealth through appreciation. You can build wealth, and this is one thing that people don't really factor in, but I factor in a lot, and it's loan pay down. As my tenant pays my loan, part of it goes to interest, part of it goes to principal. And every month that my tenant pays off my principal, that's more equity for me. If my principal has been paid down by 1,000 pula this month, that's my 1,000 pula. It falls on my balance sheet. And of course the appreciation.
Okay. Is there any real estate investor that has influenced your strategy that you look up to?
Besides people like Mr. Mogobe, and also because I was in Mang for the longest time, there were no real estate investors that I could learn from. I just kind of had to teach myself everything I know. And now that I'm in Gaps, I think my portfolio will grow faster because I'll get to learn from people like Mr. Mogobe. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. You mean you want to join my real estate mentorship?
For sure, I'd
okay.
love that.
Okay, all right. I think you'd also teach me a thing or two. All right. Now, have you? When I thought maybe you read up on somebody, or there's a book or something that you want to that has influenced your approach.
Yeah, I read a lot because I've had to teach myself. So I read a lot from guys like Grant Cardone, Brendan Turner, Bigger Pockets, and Robert Kiyosaki. I love Robert Kiyosaki. I've read.
I like the original Kiyosaki. He's changed quite a bit.
You like that Rich Dad Poor Dad
Rich Dad
guy?
And Cashflow Quadrant guy.
Cashflow Quadrant
the
guy.
recent books, I'm not.
Yeah, no, true. he's just become, I think, a politician now.
A little
I
bit.
love the cash flow quadrant. I got to learn a lot from that.
Okay. And what lessons can you share from that book specifically?
The cash flow quadrant. I
Mm.
mean, the lessons came in handy when I started Tlou real estate, because he talks a lot about systems, implementing systems, and how a business runs on systems. And even before I went on to start Tlou real estate, I was focused on the systems. How does this system work? And if you maintain the system, you'll be safe. Keep the system airtight and you won't leak money, basically. And
Um,
that's what we're implementing right now with Tlou real estate.
and what are the key systems to focus on that would be receiving your priority attention at the moment?
Your communication systems amongst the employees. That's very key, because you don't want information, especially because with real estate there's many links. It's like 4 links. You have to identify a property, get a mortgage, conveyancers, insurance. So there's many links, and we have to be efficient with these links. We don't want a situation where we don't know how to file our client ego guy who's convincing, have they seen it. So the communication has to be key there.
Where the leases.
Where the lease is, where's the information. That's what.
So are you advising people to have software packages for that, or you don't need software packages?
You do, you need software packages, but at the moment we're not running on any software. It's still hardware, it's still trial and error for us.
But it's taking shape.
It's taking shape, and when the system takes shape, the beauty of it is when the system takes shape, you leave it and it runs on its own, and you don't have to do anything. You just come back to upgrade the system later on, and if you remove personnel, flip personnel around, the system remains the system. You can remove agent X and put agent Y there. The system has to keep running.
Okay. One of the things you want to talk to us about is financing. What message do you want to communicate on financing?
Like I said, that's where you get it right or wrong. Financing. It kind of works like, remember back in primary school we did the food chain, and you have the grass, the herbivore, and the predator. And with financing and real estate, it's the primary producer. It's where the grass is. If you don't get it right there, your deal is off. The type of mortgages, the type of loans you go for, it's very important. At what interest rates? Are you getting a fixed rate mortgage or a variable rate mortgage? The long term.
Let's dive in. Let's dive deeper into that. I want you maybe to give an example of a deal that you've worked on, and tell us about the financing involved, what you look at.
First of all, Mr. Mogobe, real estate investing is no one size fits all. It's tailor-made to everyone's goals, financial goals. So if you come to me, you want to buy a property, we first have to find out what your goals are. And then we'll take it from there. As a 25-year mortgage, better suited for you as compared to a 10-year mortgage. People who got smaller mortgages were in trouble when now things start picking up, and you realize now that you put yourself in a corner. You could have taken a 25-year mortgage, you wouldn't be complaining as much. Now you bought a house and you had planned to upgrade it, put a swimming pool there, but now you can't afford it because you've maxed out your debt to income ratio first of all with a lower term mortgage. And what are the advantages of a variable mortgage and a fixed term mortgage? With a fixed term mortgage, your interest rate is locked for the rest of your mortgage.
Do banks make a distinction here in Botswana? Are they fixed term versus long term?
They do, you get to choose. But if you're an unsuspecting person, you come in and you just sign on the dotted line. You don't know what you're signing into. I said my mom held this mortgage for about 15 years, and last year I asked her if it's variable or fixed, and she didn't know. She's not interested.
And you found out that?
It's variable. Yeah. So she's been having luckily the interest rates, our prime rates haven't been going up. Yeah, so
Yeah, they've been going down.
they've been going down. Last year we've cut down by over 100 points, I think. Yeah. So we've been very fortunate.
So in this environment, would you advise someone to choose fixed or variable, given that variable is going down?
We don't know for how long. Yeah, we hope it's going to keep going down, but we don't know for how long. Also, if you have a fixed mortgage and the prime rate goes down, you still have that option to go and refinance your mortgage with a now new interest rate. So it doesn't mean if I'd gotten my mortgage at 10% and now next year the prime rate has reduced, I can't go back and make use of the new prime rate.
You say you listen to bigger pockets, but one of the things that Brendan Tanner and what's the other guy? David Green talk about is the importance of negotiating and the importance of getting the best deal out there. How would you advise a Motswana to approach a negotiation if they're looking for a loan?
I think for us, you start with shopping around. Most Botswana, because they bank with Bank A, they'll tend to go and get a mortgage from Bank A. They don't know how much the interest rate is, and they didn't go around comparing. I don't think the banks here give you much room to negotiate your interest as a regular Motswana. And
is it not because people don't ask? Maybe
people don't ask, and people don't know they can ask. That's the problem. Information. But first of all, just shopping around. I mean, Mr. Mogobe, that 1% difference can make a huge difference.
In the long run.
In the long run, it makes a huge difference. And if you calculate a mortgage of, say, 1 million pula, if you get it at 8% and I get it at 7%, over 20 years, I'm paying something like 200,000 less than you. It's the difference of 1%.
It's huge.
It's huge. Botswana don't know this. And also, it's not so convenient for them. You think about a Motswana who has a 9 to 5 and you ask them to go and get codes from 8 different banks. With what time? There's gaps, traffic. You spend the whole day at Bank A. Next week, you go to Bank B. And also, when you think about the first-time home buyer, there's an anxious person. They're already scared. They're already thinking commitment, dikoloto. So you don't want them running around doing all of these things because they're going to find excuses not to commit. That's why Tlou Real Estate is there. We want them to come in and we'll assist them throughout the whole process.
Tell me, Tlou Real Estate will go around looking for the best mortgage. What are you able to tell us? What charges are involved?
At the moment, I can't disclose much information because that mortgage brokerage product is still under contracts. Yeah, but
under contract meaning?
Under negotiations. We're still negotiating with the lenders. But ideally, it would be a service we wouldn't want to charge our clients. It should be a free of charge charge for them because we're getting our comms elsewhere. From the lenders, yeah.
From the lenders, because the lenders are interested in them, the product being sold.
Yeah,
so you will market their product as well. So it's in their interest.
It's in their interest. It's in our client's interest, and also, we don't go out there representing the lender or the client. We're just the middleman. We're not negotiating on anyone's behalf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still on the question of financing, do you advise your clients to consolidate their mortgages with one lender, or is it better to have different lenders for each deal?
For convenience sake, having your mortgages under one lender makes sense for convenience sakes. But for interest sakes, you have to see who gives you the best and who gives you a better interest. Stick to where you pay the least amount of money.
So what would be then the overall advice on that score?
Go where you pay the least amount of money. Yeah. Some banks will want to consolidate your loans, but not necessarily giving you a lower interest rate than the one you have, goes one thing. And then now it doesn't make sense for you to leave that place, going to a place where you're going to be paying more.
Okay. There is a strategy called flipping, and there's a strategy called buy and hold. I want you to define the strategy of flipping and its pros and cons, and then we're going to shift to buy and hold, its pros and cons.
Well, house flipping is basically finding a property, injecting money into it, flipping it for a profit, or buying a plot, developing it, and flipping it for a profit. You get large profit margins by doing that.
Or you can get.
It can get, yeah. You can get large profits by doing that, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and for most real estate investors, we go into real estate because we want to avoid the hard work. Now, flipping still puts you in the hard work there. The buy and hold strategy is buying a property with the intention of holding it for the long term. You get into it not thinking about selling. So when you go into the buy and hold strategy, you don't think about appreciation. You don't think about equity. You are going in for cash flow. Still with the hope.
You can factor all those things, but I'm not here
You
to
can.
debate.
Okay.
I'm not here to debate you. Yeah.
If you, maybe you are speaking from a veteran point of view.
Oh, I see.
You can hold on to a property for a long time and maybe forgetting about the cash flow a bit, because maybe you have the resources to maintain this property for the long run. But if you're a beginner and you don't have much money to keep the property running, you don't want to end up in a situation where you are negatively cash flowing only because you are looking at the appreciation. If that happens, cantily, you realize you have to sell quicker than you thought you'd sell. And what happens if you are now forced to sell in a down market? You offset the appreciation you're hoping for, because at this point you just want to get out of the deal.
So in your judgment, which is the better strategy?
For myself, I'm
house flipping versus buy and hold.
There's another strategy that I've come across. I call it the buy and hold flipper.
So it's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid. Yeah. The buy and hold flipper, where you can keep a property for 2 years and then flip it. And that's what I do now. I'm more interested in fixer-uppers. Fixer-uppers have a higher cash flow returns than the stable ones. And if I go into a property with a high cash flow, I can use the cash flow to renovate it. In 2 years, I'm going to sell it at a very high price.
Okay. So it is flipping, but in slow motion.
Flipping in slow motion.
Yeah.
You're still getting the cash flow, because like every flipping, you don't think about cash flow. You're just there. Once the house is built, you sell it. You don't enjoy the rent.
Yeah.
But with the flipping and holding at the same time, for 2 years, you're still enjoying the cash flow.
Okay. As someone who follows Brendan Turner, you'll know about BRRR, which is the BRRR strategy. Can you tell the viewer what that stands for and how it can apply to Botswana?
The best strategy is the buy, renovate, rent, refinance,
and repeat.
It's a quick way of growing your portfolio. Your money doesn't stop. The more you buy a property, you have to buy the property at below asking price. So your negotiation skills have to come and play there. Because if you are buying the property is valued at 700,000 and you are buying it for 700,000, you don't have much equity to refinance later on. Guys like Brendan Turner, they believe in the 70% strategy.
Which means you get it 30% below market.
Yeah. If you get it 30% below market, at least when you come to refinance, you know you are refinancing at least 30% that you've left in the equity later on. I think that for us in Botswana, it doesn't work as much as it would work in other countries, because...
But it works.
It works.
Believe me, it works.
It works.
But maybe not as much.
Not as much, but it works. The reason it wouldn't work as much as it works in other countries, especially for the regular Motswana, who has been given a cap of 40%.
Excuse me.
In Botswana, we have most banks will tell you they're looking at a debt to income ratio of about 40%, 40 to 50%. And they don't factor in your rental income. Most lenders here say they look at 50% of your rental income as actual income.
That's brutal.
It's,
That means
bad.
50% of your property in terms of the LTV is worthless.
It's worthless.
I've had a big fight with a major bank over that, and
Yeah.
I think us as property people should really stand up and stand up against this behavior.
Exactly.
Where you're sitting on a portfolio which is completely lazy, 50%.
We're leaving so much equity and we can't get it out.
Yeah. So to me, ideally, the LTV should be 80%.
Exactly,
If you
at
can't do
least.
80, it used to be actually when I started my investing
Yeah.
career. Now it went down to 70, and then I won't mention the name of this lender. Then they shifted it down to 60. Now
Yeah.
it's 50. Even at 50, they're still on our neck.
Yeah.
But I won't mention names.
Yeah, in Mount there you're getting 60, and if it's a multi-residential, they even reduce it to 50.
Okay. Just for those who don't know, explain LTV, loan to value, and then we're going to ask you to also explain the debt to equity ratio. But first, start with LTV.
Loan to value is basically what the bank can put up against the value of the property. So if I'm buying a property worth $1 million pula, the loan to value means how much of the value can the bank give me. If it's 50%, the bank will give me 50% of 1 million. Where am I going to get the other 500?
What do you think is ideal for lenders? What do you think is reasonable for lenders?
I think 100% is fine. Worst case, let's go to 80% and say, okay, let's.
That's what I think.
I don't tell how 80%.
I think this market would be so vibrant. So many people will
Yeah.
be building properties, the development. Not only are the banks guaranteed greater cash flow and greater ability to repay, but the entire economy will buy.
Exactly.
But now they kind now
choked
they're
it.
throttling, they're choking the economy. What can we do about this, Mr.
Mr. Mogobe, the
So
questions are not going to come from the banking sector. They're comfortable with how they've been doing business. These questions have to come from the real estate sector. It's us as real estate investors who have to raise these questions with the banks. We need to fight them.
As a group or individual?
As a group, individually, we can't do anything.
So what do you say, you and I form an association?
Probably, maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get organized
Okay.
and go fight the lenders.
Okay, then debt to equity ratio?
Debt to income ratio
Yes.
is, if I earn 10,000, the bank will take, most lenders around here will look at 40%. So the bank will look at 40% of my salary and say, you cannot make monthly installments above this amount. So if I earn 10,000, the bank says, we're capping your monthly installments at 4,000. If already you have a loan near the aparo at the shop, so you have other monthly payments, then you are in trouble because they're only going to give you a loan that you only have to pay 2,000 pula a month. Now the problem with that is that if I'm sacrificing my debt to income ratio for property X, and the bank only looks at 50% of my rental income, then it's not doing much good for my debt to income ratio. They should have been looking at as he's now making an extra 5,000 from his rental property, so his income is 15,000. But they say because they take 50% of that, they'll say I've only added 2.5 to my income. So now I'm earning 12.5, and it's a problem.
Yeah. But what do you say to those investors or those potential investors who are being prevented from qualifying by reason of the fact that they are paying for an expensive motor vehicle or a flashy car? Do you have any advice, especially for the youth who would opt to hang on to a very, very flashy car rather than drive a Corolla and qualify for a much larger loan for a much bigger investment?
Accountants will tell you that your assets should pay for your liabilities. So maybe instead of going for the flashy car first and blocking your debt to income ratio, and now you can't buy a house because you've maxed your debt to income ratio, rather get a rental property and have that rental property pay off your car later on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always wiser to go for the asset before the liability. The asset will pay for your liability later on.
How do we overcome peer pressure and also social media pressure for these people who really have to impress their neighbors and insist on driving flashy cars?
It's very difficult, Mr. Mogobe. I don't think we can fight that one. It's very difficult. I mean, it's overwhelming what social media and peer pressures are doing. I don't know what we need to do to just ground ourselves and get to work.
Maybe a starting point is to go viral with this interview.
Exactly,
and
maybe,
tell people, no, enough is enough.
Exactly, maybe let's just make investment viral. Let's make it trendy. Let's sell investments like...
What's wrong with driving a Corolla for 5 years? Even a Skorokoro for 5 years?
Yeah.
To enable you to climb that property ladder
Just
and
5
acquire
years.
assets. 5 to 10
Just
years.
5 years.
Yes.
Just sacrifice 5 years. Drive
Can
a
you
Corolla
help
for
me
5
convince
years.
people that it's possible, it's doable?
It's very possible. It's doable. Take it from me, just a regular Motswana guy. I'm really not interested in the flashy cars. I've been there. I got bitten.
Yeah.
I've learnt my lessons.
Yeah.
And now I'm just focused on property investment, and it does bear fruits, Mr. Mogobe. And rental income is beautiful. It's nice. It's delicious. Right now, during this interview, I got a text, my bank. That
Somebody's paid your mortgage.
somebody's paid my rent.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
It's beautiful.
I get a few of those in an average day. It's a good feeling.
It's a good
But
feeling.
the important thing is you're able to make a difference in other people's lives.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about COVID and tell me how it has impacted your investment positively or negatively. Obviously, stopping being a pilot was a positive impact.
It has a positive impact, but remember now, when my flying salary went with Corona, I was stuck with many debts. Yeah, I was busy acquiring debts, filling up my debt to income ratio. And then now the salary to supplement those debts is not there. And yeah, I had to go back to the drawing board. So I made for a long time. Yeah, but I survived. Property-wise, I wasn't that affected.
You see?
Especially because I think with my investment strategy, I invest for the lower class, lower to middle class. That's where that's the safest place you can invest your money.
What's the average rental there?
1.4. And 1.4, you find out that it's someone and the sister or someone and the friend that are sharing a bachelor pet bali too. And those are the essential service workers.
Okay.
Those are the guys who work go the shop.
So really, what you're telling me is that COVID hasn't affected your property investments. It may have affected your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. What
But
does that tell you? What is the conclusion you draw from that?
Investment is safer. I mean, I'm lucky because I've learned this at a young age. Imagine if this was happening to me, retirement. At least I still have the energy. I'm still young. I managed to recover quickly, and I found myself focusing on real estate, and I'm willing to take it and run with it now.
And then what's your message to those under 30s like you who are at that, shall we say, fork in the road, who have to decide, do I become an investor or do I just become a consumer?
Now, the beautiful thing also about real estate investment is that you can do it and maintain your 9 to 5 for many years. It doesn't need to take anything away from you. Just take a bit of money, put it there every year, especially the guys who have really good jobs, earning a lot of money. Every time someone talks about that salary, I'm thinking debt to income ratio. I can squeeze in 6 properties within that debt to income ratio, can add 1 property a year for the next couple of 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned debt to equity earlier, but that's also a very important concept because you're saying, what is the debt that you have in relation to the overall, equity in those assets? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I have an algorithm I use to to determine whether a deal is good enough, looking at your debt to equity ratio. And even if you give me a good cap rate, even if I see a good ROI there, it might
ROI, return on
your return on investment. Because
some
also
call it ROIC, which is return on investment capital.
Because I've had my fair share of debt. I know how debt can come back and bite you. I'm very cautious as to debt going forward now, and I like to maintain a healthy debt to equity ratio.
What are your numbers? What's the relationship percentage wise?
1%.
1%.
Anything below 1.
What does that mean? This means 1% of the debt to 99% of equity.
Yeah.
Is that what you? So that's close to zero.
Yeah.
That means you borrow very, very little.
I borrow little. Because also I can't borrow a lot. The bank won't give you much money when you're coming in. I've been using my salary for the longest time. And right now, without a salary, you have to get super creative. I can't just walk in the bank and ask for a loan right now.
I read annual report for one of the listed property companies, and the debt to equity position was 40%. I was shocked because we're super conservative. We're around 10%, less than 10%. So you're at 1%. This is the first time I'm meeting a 1%er.
Super cautious now.
But how are you going to grow if you're keeping the numbers so negligible?
Like I said, right now I'm in a transition phase.
You're almost a cash buyer. Let's say that.
Yeah. I'm at a transition phase right now, and I'm trying to start afresh, and I still have annoying debts that every time, even when my tenants pay me right now, I know how to that stupid debt that I need to pay for.
You have to clear it first.
So I want to get out of that.
So that might take a year or two.
Hopefully a year. Then I'll get back out there and be aggressive with the debt.
I'll invite you back on after that.
Yes.
What did you say about appreciation versus cash flow? Did you talk about that?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it briefly. What's the advantage of each?
Okay.
Yeah, like we said, with appreciation, you are looking at a large paycheck at the end of the lifespan of the property.
Yeah, we touched on it. But of course, numbers don't lie. Is that
very important?
Is that one of your favorite sayings? And
yes.
Why do you want us to talk about that?
During my flying days, we were drilled that we have to trust our instruments. Your instrument panel, your compass, your tent coordinator. When in doubt, trust your instruments. And it saved you. It saved us a lot. Sometimes you think you're banking to the right and your instrument tells you no, you're banking to the left, and you just have to trust your instrument. Same with numbers. We're human beings. We're emotional.
That's why I never complain when a plane is delayed. I always say they're saving my life. I hear other customers complaining, blah, blah, blah. They're probably saving my life somewhere.
Exactly. They're fixing something in there.
Because you have a checklist, right?
We have a checklist. We rely on the checklist that was made by engineers with lots of training.
And also based on crashes, because I'm told after every, God forbid, plane crash, they spend months picking everything apart and learning from that experience. Yeah,
you know how even if an aircraft last year or 2 years back when the Boeing 737 MAX crashed and they grounded all Boeings worldwide.
Yes, they did.
Like, we don't know what happened with that plane.
Because of that system, something to do with the system.
And they grounded the whole fleet for like 2 years.
Have they ungrounded them now?
Yeah, they ungrounded them sometime last year.
And they removed that system that had caused problems?
The system was okay. I think they didn't train the pilots. So the engineers installed a new system. They didn't tell anyone about it. They didn't give the pilots adequate training on it.
So how did you take these learnings from your pilot career and apply it to real estate? The numbers don't lie.
I think I'm lucky because I come from a field where it was treated like it's a matter of life and death. It's very serious. Aviation is a very serious thing. We take it very seriously. So I come already with those principles that whatever you do, it has to make sense. And then I come into real estate where now I discovered that numbers are very important. And I'm holding on to numbers the way I was holding on to the instruments back then.
Yeah.
And I could be emotional about a deal, but if the numbers don't make sense,
Yeah.
we're not
It's
going
very-
in there.
I like that message a lot. I really like that message. Can you give an example or an instance of where the numbers made all the difference? When you're analyzing a deal, what happened?
Also, if you know the numbers you're looking for, you don't get to waste your time. Because already when someone comes to you with a property, you can just calculate your cap rate quickly.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit in between your brackets, you don't need to waste time. You don't even need to go see it.
Yeah.
And
It saves you a lot of time.
it saves you a lot of time. You know what you're looking for, so you're out there looking for a particular type of investment. You're looking for a 10% cap rate, you're looking for a 15% ROI.
20% below market, 30% below.
Exactly.
Whatever you know.
You know you're going there looking for numbers. It makes life easier. It also makes growing your portfolio easier.
Yeah.
Me, my first multi-residential, after I bought it, I went back to do the numbers. And I realized I hit a jackpot.
Yeah.
I was getting something like 40% cash on cash returns.
Ooh, that's huge.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
I've been in there for just about 2 years now.
Yeah.
It means I'm about to get all my money out, basically.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the 40% means what, 2.5 years. So I'm about to get all my money out and I'll dump it. I have plenty of equity left in there too.
You can hold it if you're a buy and hold guy.
The buy and hold flipper.
Yeah.
I'm coming up to my 2 years. I can
Yeah.
flip now.
You can
I'll
flip
flip
if
and
you
I'll
want.
flip for 3. I'll get, right now if I flip it, I'm going to get 3 times my money
Yeah.
and I'll pay off the loan. And so
My problem is that people, almost invariably, people who have flipped quickly, always invariably 5 to 10 years, when that property has increased
Yeah.
in value.
Yeah.
I had an instance where I bought a property in 2000. All the estate agents were saying, sell, sell, sell. I ignored them. That property, if I tell you that it's paying for itself every year, it's paying the same amount, the purchase price, over and over. So it's a gift that keep on giving. So as a senior property investor, I would advise very strongly, consider
Holding on to it.
holding on to it, because I've never seen people regret for holding.
Yeah, you don't
very
regret.
rare.
Yeah, you don't regret holding, but also sometimes, Mr. Mogobe, there's also the
Especially if you're a long-term property investor, unless you're probably just generating cash flow, you're not in it for the long term. I'm a property investor. I believe that I'm a long-term property investor. I'm not just a developer.
Yeah.
I had Miss Alfred here, and she explained the difference between running the property as a business versus running it as an investment. I try to do both, but she convinced me that she's
Yeah, she's
strictly
a
business.
flipper. Yeah,
she's
she's a
strictly-
businesswoman.
and she seems happy with that. So I don't know whether that has provoked anything from you. Any comment?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it's a lot of work. Flipping houses is a lot of work. I've flipped houses, and having to go through the whole process and getting your money and then doing it again, I don't think I have it in me to do it for many years.
Okay.
Whereas the buy and hold is easier. I mean, with this particular property, I wouldn't mind letting go because I have plenty of equity in it, and I can take that money and take it to another property.
Talk to us if you're selling. Yeah. We buy.
I'll come to you with the numbers.
Yeah.
It's a gold mine, that one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Networking. You want to talk about networking. How has that worked for you, and why is it important?
It's important, especially if you don't have the resources to go into real estate investment. As someone who just a regular person with a 9 to 5 wants to go into real estate investment, that best bet is networks. You need to talk to people, align yourself with people who are investors. They can educate you, they can show you which doors to go and knock at.
And who should be in your network for you to be successful? Which professionals? Or which
You need the lenders,
lenders?
you
the
need the
banks,
agents,
agents,
you need the investors.
investors. This is where you're into some sort of crowdfunding or angel investing or what?
Or maybe just knowledge, information. Yeah. I mean, look at us how we've had to rely on guys like Bo Brendan Turner, Bo Grant Cardone, these are Americans. Because around here, especially being in Maung, like I said, it was very difficult to approach anyone and say, yo, are you a real estate investor? How can you help me?
Isn't the biggest problem the unwillingness of investors to share information? There are one or two exceptions, of course.
I don't know. Maybe it's the case of the chicken and the egg. Are they
Or maybe the market is not seeking the information.
Exactly. Are they hiding information, or are we just not out there looking for information? And who's out there looking for information? I mean, if someone comes to me and I can see, well, this person just wants to waste my time, I'm not going to sit down for 2 hours with them and have a chat.
Yeah, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will show up.
Exactly.
Maybe that's part of the problem.
Exactly.
We are not trained to be aggressive or assertive enough to seek information.
We're not out there seeking information.
Yeah, because it is available. When I sought the information myself from my mentors, they were willing to share it. Yeah, but I had to keep coming back to them.
Exactly. That's the power of networks. We need networks right now, especially for the guys who want to enter the market. The best bet is the network.
Do you guys in the brokerage and real estate agency business, how do you network as a subgroup, as agents?
I don't know how the agents do it. Hey, I'm really not invested much into that department. Yeah.
But you've hired agents.
I have hired agents. They know what they're doing. We have an operations manager who oversees the agents. I don't spend too much time with the agency because we're busy trying to expand the company. Okay.
What about organizations like RIAC, Real Estate Institute of Botswana, and what's the other one?
The Advisory Council, RIAC and REIB.
How do you interact with those?
With REIB and RIAC, because they oversee the professionals. They don't really oversee
the investor.
Yeah. Even when I got to real estate registered, we had a problem because I came to them. I wanted to register to real estate, but I'm not a professional. They wanted me to give them the names of the agents I'm going to be hiring and all of that. They're more focused on the agents themselves and not the company. They're not interested in the operation of the company. Bone bana ba bone ke the agents. And I think maybe that's a problem, maybe.
We conclude by talking about learning, lifelong learning. I'm a great believer in lifelong learning, and I see you are too. What is your take on that?
We need to keep learning, constant learning, especially because we come from a generation where we're not given the tools. The tools were not handed to us, and so we have to go out there and hustle for ourselves. And we hustle by learning, and learn as much as possible. Sometimes I get people calling me, asking me they want to invest in real estate. They don't have much money. I have 10,000. How can I invest in real estate? And I tell them, just go learn first.
Rather spend that 10,000 getting a coach or a mentor or
exactly.
whatever.
Buying something to teach
buying
you.
Books
buying
or
books,
whatever,
exactly.
podcasts, so many things.
Yeah, go register for these memberships online and learn.
I often say to my audiences that you should acquire a gargantuan amount of information. That's a fancy word for big. Amount of information. That's the only way you can succeed.
Yeah.
This is a chance for you to ask me a question as we conclude our conversation.
Okay. Tell me about your real estate investment strategies, how they came about, how you came about to be a buy and hold investor.
It was mostly trial and error, and also reading the likes of Kiyosaki's. And I did a simple exercise to say, okay, buy and hold versus flipping. Let's go to the Forbes 500 and let's see the most successful people. Let's see if there's any flippers there. And I found all of them, without exception, they were buy and hold. So that taught me that flippers don't get very far. If you really want to get to the highest level in terms of acquiring assets that have value, have appreciation, and long-term sustainable income generating capacity, you have to be a buy and hold. Yes, if you want a little bit of cash, maybe to keep you going for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but long-term sustainability, buy and hold.
Yeah.
So that's why I came to this conclusion from my reading. Even if you listen to the guys and you know, you listen carefully at the guys on Bigger Pockets, you know, the Brandon Turners and the other one, David Greens. You'll see that their strategy is to buy and hold, most of them.
Yeah, those guys are actually
very clear
selling. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I've seen it for myself when I was growing up as a child. My parents were regretting the houses they haven't bought. There was a house which my dad could have bought for 20 grand, and we go past that house now. It's worth 5 million, 6 million, and you know, they used to remind me before they passed on. God rest their souls. I had an opportunity to buy imagine buying a house in a central locality in Gaborone for 20 grand. And then my mother even went further to remind me that when she was working, when she started working, she had an opportunity to buy a type 4 house for 1,000 rands, rands, which was the currency then.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen for myself some of the properties that are in the center of town, what they used to cost now and what they are valued now.
It's crazy
so
now.
that's why I'm very, very clear. I think any person, any argument between myself as a buy and hold versus a flipper, I think I can win that argument. It's a debate.
Any day.
It's a debate I'm willing to have any day.
Yeah.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, and can I ask another question to you?
A quick one, because we're running out of
quick
time.
one. Tell me about, I know some guys believe in not leaving equity in your properties. Always having cash out of your properties as soon as possible. What's your take on that?
That's a rubbish strategy.
Do you think
Your wealth is contained in your property. You only need the cash for what you need to invest and for your own sustenance. But in terms of storage of wealth,
you'd rather maintain it within the walls.
Yes, that's where it's stored. In fact, if you look at successful people, even the Bill Gates of this world, the Warren Buffetts of this world, they make their money in other things. But ultimately, when they buy businesses, you find those businesses have real estate. You find that somebody would have made their money as a successful singer, as a successful rapper, or whatever. But ultimately, that money is stored in real estate. That asset is stored there. Yeah, you can take the money as and when you need it, but you don't have to, you know. And banks will be very hesitant to release equity when they don't know how that. Yeah. So you'll have a tough time arguing for that mortgage.
But doesn't that work against the BRRRR strategy when it comes to refinancing? These guys believe in going back to the bank.
I think this conversation we should have after this show.
Okay.
Okay. You have to look at that camera and leave that listener with an inspirational message, something to take home as we wrap up.
Okay, or just tell them to come to Tlou Real Estate. Okay, thank you for tuning in, guys. Dudley from Tlou Real Estate. Please come through to our offices located here by Mogobe Plaza in the CBD for any consultation, advisory services you may seek. Thank you.
Any accessibility through, you know, things like social media or even WhatsApp?
You can send us an email at info@tlourealestate.co.bw or send us a message on Facebook and Instagram.
It remains for me to thank you, sir. You've been a wonderful guest, very fluent. You know what you're doing, but I think it's very nice of you. You've shared such valuable information. I think we'll work well together. And welcome to Mogobe Plaza.
Thank you.
Now you can have a conversation.
Hey,
I like it. It's exactly 1 hour.
Oh,
I didn't want it to drag you.
Okay.
Yeah.